We know the show, he put it on. Please, I be going ham. Shorty upgrade from below. Please, them niggas tip. And welcome to the Ask Us Sports Podcast, where Andy won't be shaking his booty, and Ken is 20-12 in our pick'em. Ken, how was your weekend?
It was good, Shane, my dude. I hung out with some family and got home in time for the Sunday slate, which we are now well in full force. The NFL season is upon us.
Absolutely. Vicky Betts, what's going on, brother? How was your weekend?
It was good, Shane. Lots of family time and lots of football. The two best Fs you can have in your life, family and football.
Absolutely. And we had, like Ken said, we had a full slate on Sunday. It was a great week of football. Ken, we're starting off hot. Is Kyler the most electric player in the NFL?
Yeah, dude, he brings like backyard football to a whole new level. Like if you remember, like when you were playing backyard baseball back in the day, if you were playing backyard football, Kyler would be like that one player that gets adapted for that game. That
Pablo Sanchez.
Oh yeah, he is the Pablo Sanchez of backyard football. He really is. It's almost like an elevated version of what Mahomes used to do, or maybe still does, but it's almost like Kyler's reinventing it because he has the legs that Patty doesn't, and it's really fun to watch. The Cardinals are definitely taking over. They're and it's really all on the back of him. They do have to do a little bit more around him to make sure that they stay good. But people are now hyping up Rondale Moore to be the next Tyreek Hill, and with all the other talent at receiver and the two backs, this is really looking like probably if not the most formidable offense in the NFL, which doesn't come as a surprise to any of the three of us now, does it?
No, not at all. We've been touting Kyler all offseason, and just watching him run around, he looks like a little Russell Wilson, but it's different than Russell Wilson, right? I don't know how to – it's obviously a bad description, but, this is what we've known Russell to do, run around in the pocket, extend plays. But Kyler seems like he might have a bigger arm and more mobility. Andy, what are your thoughts on Kyler? Are you in agreement with Ken and I? Is he the most electric player in the NFL right now?
Other than Lamar Jackson, I would say yes. I mean, I don't know where I would put both of them on the map in terms of 1 and 2. I think Kyler is right up there, if not the number one guy. The thing I like about Kyler better than I like about Lamar Jackson, as you can see it in the numbers here, is Kyler has improved his completion percentage year over year and even to the start of this year. That's the thing about Kyler Murray that's so special, is he has the electrifying speed and mobility out of the pocket, outside of the pocket, but completes 73% of his passes through the first 2 weeks of the season. That is what defensive coordinators, when they're preparing for Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals, that's what keeps them up at night. They can't really stop the runner because he can throw the ball. He's one of the better passers in this game right now. He's improved from the start of the season. He's in his rookie year in 2019, 64.5% completion percentage. Last year, 67.2%. This year, he's at 73.5% through the first 2 weeks. So we are seeing that ascension from Kyler Murray that we were hoping to see through the first 2 weeks of the season. The only concern, I guess, that's always been in my mind about Kyler is his ability to stay healthy. We saw him kind of wear down towards the end of last year. He did play 16 games last year, but he was not healthy down the stretch. So that's going to be the key this year in a 17-game slate, is making sure Kyler is healthy, making sure he's not taking those hits. But if he can survive this season and not get injured and stay relatively healthy, man, he's an MVP candidate.
No, absolutely. And to your remark about Lamar, I just think Kyler's a more complete passer
than
Lamar.
Yes.
He's also got more weapons. And I actually really love James Conner. I feel like Conner gives that offense a different dynamic that they haven't had. He's been pretty tough running the ball. And Chase Edmonds looks good in the backfield too. So, I mean,
And then
overall,
Rondale
that
Moore.
team is
Rondale Moore has been a godsend for Kyler Murray. It looks like Kyler Murray's passing to Kyler Murray when he throws the ball to Rondale Moore. And I have Rondale Moore in one of our dynasty, and I think it's our dynasty league.
Yeah, it's our dynasty
sure.
league.
And he's been a godsend for me this year, considering the injuries I've had to deal with to my running backs, to the Ravens running backs, to both of them, and having Jerry Jeudy go down in my fantasy lineup, and Odell Beckham has not started the season yet. So I've been pretty hampered injury wise. So having a guy like Rondale Moore, who I drafted in our rookie draft, have the start that he's having has been huge for my 2-0 start.
Ken, who are you touting as the best team in the league currently after 2 weeks?
Yeah, it's kind of tough to say, but I think for me, I'm going to narrow it down to 3 teams, and I'm not going to include the Chiefs in that because of what happened with Baltimore. So I was between 3 teams. I think it's hard to pick against the Bucs just because they are the Super Bowl champs. Obviously, they are the defending Super Bowl champs. They have the greatest player of all time. They will be there at the end, probably one of the final 4 teams at least. You would expect at a minimum. The talent is all there. Gronk looks like a kid again. Lenny Fournette's looking spry. Mike Evans is going to make Shane eat crow. There's a lot to love for Tampa Bay, I think, this year. And, we can talk about the Cardinals too, obviously, with Kyler Murray. He's the premier player, but I don't know if the team around him is ready to compete as far as the Super Bowl contending roster. I still think the defense needs to clean some things up.
They're lucky to be 2-0.
Yeah, that Vikings game was not pretty. Aside from Kyler and Rondale Moore were pretty, but the rest of that team was not that pretty. I don't know, man. I think if I'm kind of really starting to buy into this Los Angeles Rams hype. They're legit. They are really legit. I think McVay found his guy. We know the defense is stout. I say it every week. They produce points. The defense produce points. They don't prevent points. They produce points. Cooper Kupp is ascending to a top 5 wide receiver, probably already there. We do need to see some more reliability from that run game, but they definitely have a next man up mentality. And I don't think they're going to be hurting if Darrell Henderson is hurt. I think they'll find ways. And behind Matt Stafford, look, he has the pedigree, the experience, the arm that Goff just really doesn't have. And Goff, for all the credit, for all the trash he was getting, he does look like he's playing all right. But you just look at what the Rams are doing, and to me, that screams a complete team. And now the Rams and Bucs are playing on Sunday. I think the winner of that should be the answer to this question. But if you have to right now, a little preview to what's going to happen later in the show when we make our picks, I actually think the Rams are the best team in the league.
That was going to be what I was going to say about this topic. Is the 2 best teams in the league, in my opinion, are facing off on Sunday in Los Angeles. That's the Bucs and the Rams, and I will give my prediction about that game later in the show.
Oh,
yeah.
See, if
it wasn't for the Seahawks' total demise against the Titans at the end of the game this past Sunday, I was touting the Seahawks as the best team in the NFL. I think the new offensive coordinator in Seattle that's really opened up the pass game for Russ has changed that offense. That offense is pretty electric. Obviously, I can't pick them right now with the Rams still perfect and looking great, and the Bucs still 2-0. But I think the Seahawks are definitely a team to watch out. That'd be my 3rd team in that mix. Even over the Cardinals, I really like the Seahawks this year. I think if they can figure out that late game mishap with Tennessee at home, and they can straighten that out, I think the Seahawks will definitely be in the conversation at the end of the season.
I think that was more a credit to Tennessee than it was to Seattle. They really just did not abandon the running game when they were down by 14 in the second half. They let Derrick Henry do his thing, and that's really what wore down the Seahawks defense. Is the Titans were so relentless with Derrick Henry. I think he finished with 182 rushing yards, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So that is huge. They could have easily used Ryan Tannehill and try to throw their way back in the game, but they did not. They utilized their strength, and that is with Derrick Henry. And
that was honestly a great call, not abandoning Derrick Henry. That's what the Titans need to feed Henry and Julio Jones. That's you saw what they did when they stuck with their two big guns.
They do it ideally when they're not down by 14, by the way. They need to
They played 6 quarters where they legitimately tried to get cute. Vrabel played 6 quarters of not really playing to the Titans' identity, and you saw what happened in the 2 quarters of using their identity.
Correct.
Henry is not supposed to show until November, Ryan Crawford said.
True,
that was the best comment so far. Hey, thank you, Bagels.
Viggy Betts, what do we got going on in Viggy Nation before we move to ECBC and then our picks?
Yeah, so the NRFI continues to shine. We've won 7 of 8. Our win streak unfortunately snapped last night, but we've won 7 of 8 and 18 out of 25 overall. So we are doing really well here in the month of September. The 7 of 8 has spanned since Labor Day. So we're doing really well. And then what I created last weekend is what's really the buzz on Twitter right now, and that is the half-inning NRFI parlay. So that is mainly available on DraftKings. There is availability to it on BetMGM and some offshore sites. I believe Bovada has it as well, to where you can choose an individual team to not score in the first inning. And that really comes down to the ace pitchers that are on the mound for that specific day that are facing a counterpart that does not make the Viggy chart grade for an NRFI. So perfect example tonight was Trevor Rogers for the Marlins going up against Josh Rogers of the Nationals. The Nationals, just not enough data for Rogers for me to really count him. So in order to play that, you parlay it with 2 or 3 other aces that are going that day that make the Viggy chart. So typically I've been doing 4. I've been doing 4 individual pitchers to shut down their opponent in the first inning. That gives you typically in the area of plus 150 to plus 190, which we had tonight. Unfortunately, Brandon Woodruff, the highest graded pitcher of the day, did not shut down the Cardinals in the first inning. He did not give up a hit, but still lost. Unfortunately, a walk, a steal, and a sac fly did him in. But that's what we're doing. We've won 3 of 5 of them so far. So we're doing really well with them. $100 better is up $262 right now. So that's the buzz on Twitter. So I'm doing them almost every day. I've done them the last 5 days. I kind of want to take a day off with it because it is a heart attack parlay, to say the least. I truly hate them, but it's another alternative to make some money, and we've been doing it. So if you want to hop in at Viggy Betts on Twitter, I've been getting a ton of followers over the last few days with this new concept, and it's really taking the shine on Twitter. So keep going with us. We have about a week and a half left in the regular season, unfortunately. So the NRFIs will diminish here as we get into the postseason. We will do them on occasion in the postseason if it meets the chart, but it's been a fun season with NRFIs. So keep cashing with me. If you're friends with someone who is new to the betting space or loves betting but doesn't know about me, at Viggy Betts on Twitter. Let's cash for what time we have. And, of course, we have great NFL, college football, and soccer betting as well, other than MLB.
Hell yeah. Ken, what's going on at ECBC?
Yo, well, let's see. ECBC's been working on a couple side deals. Nothing that I can disclose right now, but I am working on acquiring some Donruss, but in a controlled manner. Let's call it that. I think we're gonna take a wider approach with this product this year. We did speak a little bit about it last week in our displeasure with some of the issues at the hobby box as it pertains to pricing, but there is another avenue. I've chased it down. Shane had the wide eyes on Twitter today. Was able to hawk some stuff. So we're working on it. I think there's going to be some breaks in the future. It could be some big break. It could be a big break. We don't even know. I'm still the wheels are still turning. Let's call it that. So we will be going after some new product. We did a shitload of certified, which was a blast as always. Some great product. Who knows? Maybe we'll do some more of it. But for now, we will look into some Donruss. And tomorrow is a big release. Tomorrow is Bowman Chrome Baseball, which is fun because, especially this year, everybody's trying to learn who are the chases. So everybody's looking at this checklist, and it's a bunch of guys nobody really knows yet that everybody's trying to figure out who's going to be the best one, who's going to be the chase autos, who are you going to want. And so we will certainly be looking into some of that. And that is going to be something that we might open up tomorrow. And we do have some soccer. Soccer is on the table. Stadium Club Chrome. This is what we're trying to fill right now. It is in the Discord, ready for fill. $20 per random spot. There are 20 spots. It's UEFA Champions League. Stadium Club Chrome. Ordered it directly from Topps UK. There's not a lot of them. I believe it was a UK exclusive product. So not in the United States. Should be a fun one. And other than that, that's what DCBC's got going on. But personally, I am all up in my Derrick Henry frenzy stage right now because he's amazing. And he just completely tore apart the Seattle Seahawks. So I am buying Derrick Henry. And yeah, that's about it for me in ECBC world. As you can see, my Twitter tags are down there, Kembo J Slice and East Coast Breaking Co. next to my illustrious record for Pick'em. And if you would like to join, we would love to have you. We've been getting some new people in the Discord every so often, sprinkling in. Please come join the community. It's a great time. We'd love to have you. We opened up a little gambling corner where Viggy and some of the other minions have been dropping some college football stuff on Saturdays. That's been a good time. We look forward to more of that. So come on by. We got some stuff cooking. It'll be a good time. Back to you, Shane Miller.
I love it. And as Ken mentioned, we have our little Pick'em series going on. The two losers will buy the winner some kind of nice present. Right now, Ken has a 4-game lead on Viggy, 5-game lead on me. And we're just going to jump right into it. And hopefully this is a better week for Vig and I so we can catch Ken at the top. But first game, Ken, Panthers at Texans, our Thursday night game. I feel like there probably isn't too much discussion here, but let's see what's going on. What are you thinking?
It actually would have been a fun game if Tyrod was playing. Tyrod, the Ty God, was made everyone a little bit of a believer. He looked like a true gunslinger out there, but Tyrod will Tyrod, and now he is IR Rod, and we will not see him for a little while.
Oh my God.
Wow.
So Davis Mills steps in, the great Davis Mills, ECBC special Davis Mills. We pulled a couple of his bangers and certified. He doesn't inspire much confidence, so it's not looking good for the Houston Texans. Cooks, not looking good for my man Brandon Cooks, who was really having a connection with Tyrod. I was really liking what that was doing. Lindsey and Ingram were actually looking decent as a 1-2 punch. The offense was not that bad. It definitely was not that bad. Not as bad as everybody expected, but Matt Rule looks like a legit coach. He's got a great system going. Darnold hasn't even looked amazing, but he has looked good. He's got the best running back in football. They got great receivers. The defense is strong. So, yeah, Panthers are going to cruise here. The spread's high with Texans at home. It's a short week, so the spread's a little iffy, but the Panthers should take care of business.
Yeah, I'm in agreement there. While Tyrod looked real good with the Texans, Davis Mills didn't look great. I think Sam Darnold's looked good. Joe Brady's got him at least looking much better than he looked with the Jets. He's not seeing ghosts out there. DJ Moore has played well. Robbie Anderson's played well. Obviously, they've got CMC. That whole team has actually played pretty good. The defense is good. Brian Burns looks like an animal. So I'm going to go Panthers as well. Andy, I assume you'll follow suit.
So I don't know if you saw this on Twitter. I just tweeted it out. that I'm going for the 16-game money line parlay this weekend. It's a free bet I have on BetMGM. Why the hell not? So I have a $10 free bet on BetMGM, and I'm going for it. I'm going for 16-0, and if it cashes, a potential payout of $67,636.99. Oh, and by the way, it's an 18-game parlay because I actually added the Kansas City Royals not scoring the first inning and the Nationals not to score in the first inning by accident because I had it in my bet slip earlier and it cashed. So I'm 2 for 18 so far as we get into the NFL slate.
So if you win, can I get a free $10 bet?
Sure, Shane, that's fine.
Free $10 bet.
I'll even buy you a blender so you can put all your condiments in.
Thanks.
Mike Evans gets over 1,000 yards receiving. How about that? So
with that anticlimactic, you're picking the Texans?
I am going with the Carolina Panthers to get the job done on Thursday night.
Fair enough. Any analysis on that? Are you liking Sam Darnold as well?
I am. Yeah, I'm thinking CMC is going to have a big night as well. And I don't think they'll need a lot of Sam Darnold, to be honest with you. I think CMC gets a couple touchdowns and hopefully they win by double digits.
As long as DJ Moore gets involved, I'm okay with that. But moving on, we've got the Colts at Tennessee. Ken, this is your Titans. Do they have what it takes to beat the Colts, or?
Yeah, I was feeling really down on them after 6 quarters of football this season. But like I said, we all watched that second half of that game, and they looked like what they looked like last year. And hopefully Vrabel got that little whatever that was out of his system and realizes, hey, I got Julio Jones and I got Derrick Henry on this team, and let's make it easy on Ryan Tannehill because that's what I think made it so easy for him last year. He looked really bad game 1. He didn't look great yesterday, but he sort of relied on what he should be relying on, and that is just freaking hammering Derrick Henry up the middle. And even if it doesn't work in the first half, you have to keep at it because that's what it does. He wears them down, and that's what happens in the fourth quarter. That's how they got him into overtime, and then they won. So if they keep that same type of recipe and sprinkle in the mix of A.J. Brown and Julio Jones, I think that's how they continue to win these games. I think that's how they dominate this division. And now Wentz is banged up. He's got sprains in both his ankles. So can he even walk? Like, this guy is a clown. It's legitimately just stay on your own 2 feet for Christ's sakes. But it's not looking good for him. It's unfortunate because I really liked what I saw from him and Michael Pittman. I think when Wentz isn't on the field, it really hampers what Pittman is going to be able to do. I think it hinders what Jonathan Taylor is going to be able to do. And I think the offense doesn't move as well without Wentz, as fragile as he is. So I definitely expect the Titans to pull this one out and continue riding that ship after a rough start. But as we saw, that rough start was against the machine that is Kyler Murray, so maybe it's not so bad after all in Tennessee.
No, I agree. Without Carson Wentz, I think I know it's not. He hasn't been ruled out yet. I think it's pretty likely that he might miss this game, and they'll start the second-year quarterback in Jacob Eason. So I'm definitely going to go the Titans. I think the Titans are just going to start rolling in that division. As long as they keep feeding the ball to Henry and getting Julio involved, I think that Titans team becomes very tough to beat. Andy, what are you doing here?
Yeah, tough start for the Colts. Obviously, a lot of that does have to do with Carson Wentz not being healthy. Not looking good on that MVP prediction so far, unfortunately. But I am rolling with the Titans. Last meeting, the Titans win 45-26 against the Colts. Derrick Henry had a big day, 178 rushing yards. I think we'll see a similar performance from Henry. I think they're going to need to have Henry. So I'm going to go with the Titans.
Fair enough. Andy, I'll jump right back to you on this one. Falcons at Giants. Do you think Matt Ryan and crew has what it takes to go into New York and beat the Giants, or does Daniel Jones got this one?
I went back and forth on this one. I'm going with Atlanta, and the reason why I have Atlanta is I just don't see Atlanta going 0-3. I think the Giants. I just can't trust Daniel Jones' ability to not turn the football over. And Matt Ryan, does have a lot of weapons at his disposal. And I think we saw some encouraging signs going into, from last weekend, where they did keep tabs with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Tampa. Everybody thought that would be a blowout, and that was not the case. So I like how Atlanta finished against Tampa Bay, who we consider one of the two best teams in football. So I'm going to go with Atlanta to go up and get a road win at New York.
Fair. Ken, are you in agreement here? Do you think Atlanta's got what it takes to go to New York and get this win?
I think we're gonna have our first deviation here because I kind of like the Giants, and maybe I'm naive, but I kind of think Danny Dimes might have turned a little bit of a corner. We saw a really good performance from him against a pretty solid defense on a short week, and that performance also looks a hell of a lot better if Slayton didn't drop an absolutely cupcake bread and butter touchdown on a Hail Mary pass that he really should have came down with. Would have been another touchdown for Jones, another touchdown for Slayton. I'm really leery to say this because of Saquon. I'm not a believer in his. He's just not it right now. He's got an issue. He needs to get healthy, and if he's not going to get healthy, they gotta own up to it because it's not progressing very quickly. So sorry about that. But if you want my pick, I think I'm going to go with the Giants here. While Pitts is great and Ridley is great, I just don't think – I'm not a believer in Atlanta. They did show up against a soft Tampa Bay secondary, but if you want my pick here, I'm going to have to go with the Giants.
No, I'm in agreement with Ken here, actually. I really like Danny Dimes. I think Slayton and Shepard have looked real strong with Danny so far throughout the season. Slayton did drop a pretty easy touchdown. But I really liked what the Giants did getting Danny involved in the run game last game. I thought he looked real good, real strong. If Saquon can get going this game, I know Ken's not a believer, but if Saquon can get going and Daniel Jones can still have that connection with Slayton and Shepard, which Shepard's been fantastic this year so far, really having a breakout season to start the year in the first 2 weeks. I think the Giants are a tough team to beat here for Atlanta. So I'm going to go with the home team and go with the Giants here. Back to you, Ken. We've got the Chargers going to Kansas City. This has the possibility of being one of the games of the week.
Yeah.
Do you think that Justin Herbert can build off a strong start and beat the Chiefs?
I mean, he looked really good in week 1 against Washington and looked sort of ordinary against Dallas. But now he plays a defense that was literally not even they looked invisible against Lamar Jackson. So he certainly has that opportunity. The one thing I really am noticing about the Chargers offense is the growth of Mike Williams. That's one thing I've noticed in these first 2 games is he looks like a legit bona fide top 20 wide receiver, especially if he can stay healthy. I think you may start to see him emerge as more of a top end wideout. He's never been able to stay healthy. So, I'll bite my tongue as soon as I say it, but he's really improving. And I think, along with Keenan Allen, along with this, Eckler and a couple of solid backup backs, this is a good offense and it's a solid defense, but they're still running into the Chiefs, and that's the same old story with the Chiefs. The offense is really good. Nobody has been able to stop that big 3. I actually think you will start to see more Mecole Hardman in the next couple of weeks. I know he hasn't really shown up, but he does still have that talent and that speed where he should be very relevant. And he was starting to get some looks against Baltimore, so I think they're going to continue on that trajectory. I still think he is the second best receiver on that team, wide receiver, not pass catcher. And I still like the Chiefs in this game. I just think, while Herbert has been good, he did look fairly ordinary against the Cowboys defense, and we all know going to Kansas City is a very, very difficult place to play. So to that end, I do think you got to go to the Chiefs with this one.
Andy, are you taking the Chiefs as well, or are you veering off here and going Chargers?
So this one is interesting. Like Ken said, I think this does have the makings to be one of the games of the week. This for me, Kansas City is a very tough place to play. However, I've seen some holes on their defense that I think that the Chargers have the ability to take advantage of. And we've seen close games with these two teams where the Chargers have pulled it off in the past. And I have an inclination here that Justin Herbert, who's completing 70.5% of his passes to begin the season, can go in, be motivated, and get the job done for the Los Angeles Chargers. And I'm going with that this week. You have to take some risks. You can't choose the favorites all the time in this kind of scenario where you have two really strong teams from the AFC West. I'm going to go in and I'm going to say that Los Angeles comes out with a road victory. I'm concerned about the Chiefs' defense a bit. The front seven has given up obviously some rushing yards, although Los Angeles doesn't have the rushing abilities that Baltimore does. They still have Austin Eckler. They still know how to use them. And as long as he's healthy, they have a shot, which will definitely help Justin Herbert get the job done through the air, and more importantly, finish drives. So I'm going to go with Los Angeles winning a very close one here over the Chiefs.
Okay, yeah, I like that a lot. I am going to go with the Chiefs, though, myself. I just think Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce's just a little too much. And there was a graphic shown. Lamar's the first, young quarterback that consistently faces Patrick Mahomes that's actually beaten Patrick. I believe Justin Herbert's 0 for 2. I think they showed a few other
Lamar
quarterbacks.
Just got his first win against Patrick on Sunday. That was his first win.
Lamar got his first win against Patrick, but they showed some young quarterback graphics that Lamar was the first young quarterback to beat Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes was undefeated against all the other young quarterbacks in the AFC. I think he's 2-0 against 2-0 against Herbert, 2-0 against Baker, was 2-0 against Lamar. So I'm going to go with Patrick.
At least 1-0 against Allen, right?
Yep. It's hard to bet against the Chiefs. I think they'll figure out the defensive woes. I just don't think the Chargers have that dynamic player like a Lamar Jackson to go in there and beat the Chiefs. Herbert's great. He makes some amazing throws. I just think Patrick ends up getting it done at the end of the day. Moving into our next game, we've got the Bengals at the Steelers. I'll go first here. I'm going to take the Bengals here after a tough game against the Bears. Steelers have some injuries to their defense. I think Joe Burrow is going to come out motivated. You're going to see a heavy dose of Joe Mixon, Tyler Boyd. I think Jamar Chase gets into it a little earlier than he did last game. He had another touchdown against the Bears. So I think Burrow comes out and he gets it done against the Steelers. With all the Steelers injuries, I don't know if TJ Watt's going to play, which plays a huge factor into their pass rush. Tyson Alualu has a broken ankle. So there's just a lot of injuries to their front seven, and Joe Hayden might not play either. So it just plays a lot of factors into the Steelers struggling, and Ben might not even play. He's got a pec issue. So we may see Dwayne Haskins play this game. So I'm going to go Bengals over Steelers in this one. Ken, are you going with your boy Joe, or you think the Steelers can get it done?
And that Steelers look a little beat up, and not even that. I mean, Deontay Johnson's hurt too, and it's been a litany of injuries for the Steelers front. And the Bengals did not look good against the Bears. Burrow in particular did not look good, but he only made a couple of big mistakes, and those mistakes did end up being costly. One of them being a pick six. But I was encouraged afterwards because I think a lesser team, a lesser quarterback, kind of continues down that streak, but he did bounce back. He threw a couple touchdowns after that. I think that got his day back in order, despite the fact that they still lost. My biggest concern with them is going on the road in a tough environment with what I consider to be very conservative play calling to this point. They're going to need to take some shots if they want to beat the Steelers team, and I think they could, but even with these injuries, the Steelers' defense has been pretty formidable. They didn't lose to the Raiders because of their defense. They lost to the Raiders because Ben was absolutely getting crushed the entire game, and the offense really couldn't do anything going other than that Juju touchdown drive. So Pittsburgh's going to have to address those offensive line issues at some point, but I think the Bengals' defense is soft enough that they might be able to elude some of that. I guess you could say that about the Raiders too, but the Raiders have proven that they look like they might be a better defensive unit than people think. So while I do want to pick the Bengals, I just have a hard time believing that they're going to go on the road in such a tough environment and pull out a win. I do think it's going to be a very close game. I am going to give the slight edge to the Steelers, though, but my confidence is very low.
Fair enough. Andy, where are you leaning on this one, brother?
Yeah. Everything you brought up, Shane, is 100% valid. The defense lost a lot on the injury front last week.
Yeah, they got decimated.
Joe Hayden didn't play.
Devin
Bush didn't play. Tyson Alualu fractured his ankle. TJ Watt left with a groin injury. To say that the Steelers are banged up in the secondary or just on defense in general is an understatement. Offensively, Ben with the pec injury, Mike Tomlin said that it would be hurting his preparation for this week against the Bengals, where we could see Dwayne Haskins play a factor, if not play entirely on Sunday. And the way that they're utilizing Najee Harris is just ridiculous to me. I'm very disappointed with how things are going so far. I hate to do this. I'm going to go with Cincinnati. I think Cincinnati has the moxie. I think they're motivated. I think that they have the talent on offense where the Steelers are struggling even with Ben in the lineup. And they can attack a Steelers defense that is banged up right now. Talented, nonetheless, but banged up. So it pains me to do it, but I'm going to go with Cincinnati.
Yeah, and just to touch on Ken's point of Burrow looking a little bad against the Bears, I don't think he's faced a pass rush as good as the Bears had on Sunday. That offensive line wasn't blocking anyone. And Khalil Mack, Roquan Smith, and the Bears' just underrated pass rush in general was just killing Burrow all game.
I think that's the concern, right? Because the Bengals' offensive line usually doesn't block anybody. That's why Burrow had the torn ACL in the first place. So that's my overarching concern, because even TJ Watt at less than 100% is probably enough to murder whoever's in front of him.
See, that's what I'm thinking. If TJ Watt, I mean, obviously we do this on Tuesdays, so I'm going with the Bengals still. But if TJ Watt doesn't play, I think that's a huge boost to Burrow because they don't have a pass rusher. Not having Bud Dupree because he went to Tennessee, they don't have another pass rusher like TJ Watt. Melvin Ingram is good; he's formidable, but he's no TJ Watt. TJ Watt is, I'd put him up there as one of the top 3 pass rushers in the league. So without TJ Watt, I think, and without a few of the Steelers secondary players and some of their front 7, I just think it's enough for Joe Burrow to be able to get it done. I think he's motivated enough. I think this Bengals team is motivated enough. They want to. Burrow wants to change the culture in Cincinnati. I know you love Burrow, so I'm sure it pains you not to take him here. But I just think, with that said, the Bengals are the team that I could definitely see going into Pittsburgh and knocking the Steelers off. But moving into the next game, it is out of Bagels wet dream. It is the Bears, led by Justin Fields this week, going into Cleveland to face the Browns. This game is going to be great, I think. Ken, do you think Baker and the Browns are able to beat the Bears this week?
This is going to be a tough one because we don't know what the Bears – we do know – we did see Justin Fields at the helm, but it wasn't with a true prep week. This is going to be interesting because the Bears have a full week of prep with Justin Fields at quarterback to game plan for the Cleveland Browns, as opposed to him coming in relief or coming in because Dalton was hurt or benched or something like that. So this is a little bit of a unique situation in the sense that he will have that full work week. When Dalton's not going to play, so the Bears offense certainly does have a little bit of an off factor here. We could be seeing something special. We don't totally know yet. Maybe it's going to take a little while to develop. We saw both sides of Fields in the preseason. We saw him look really, really good. We saw him look really, really average. And he's got a tough test. This Browns defense is no joke. And I do think this could also end up being a story of the Bears defense against the Browns offense, because we just saw what the Bears defense was able to do against the Bengals and their poor offensive line. But I think if the Browns can set the tempo with their running game, then the Bears are going to have a hard time in this one. And it is a rookie quarterback starting his first game on the road against a team that is pretty good. We watched this team come this close to taking down Kansas City twice, and we saw them, take care of business against Houston. So I'm not really willing to bet against the Browns here. While I do think Fields is going to be very fun, he's gonna be good. I'm not ready to pick them going into Cleveland and beating a really good Browns team.
Yeah, and I'm going to go with the Browns here too. I think, like the Bears, like you said, the Bears have a full week to prep a Justin Fields start so they can get the offense ready. On the flip of the coin, the Browns have a week to, game plan for Justin Fields. I feel like the game plan for him would be similar to how you would game plan against Kyler Murray. I think he's that fast, he's that elusive. But he's got that strong of an arm too. Maybe they use like a Lamar Jackson type game plan for him. I'm not sure. But I'm going to go the Browns. I think Baker gets it done. These are the games that Baker's supposed to win against a weaker team at home. This is what will set the Browns to potentially be a championship team, is winning these kind of games at home. Andy, what are you doing here, brother?
No, I agree with you guys. I think that what it comes down to is the Browns running game really kind of just taking a chokehold on this game, forcing the Bears, and assuming Fields plays. I don't know if that is a 100% 100% fact yet, because Matt Nagy's come out and said that Dalton, if healthy, if available to play, is the quarterback. So we'll see.
I think Nagy has to say that, though.
He can say anything he wants, but I just think either way, ultimately, especially if Fields does play, getting that ground game for the Browns going, really putting a chokehold on this game, having Fields to throw the ball, putting him in precarious situations, forcing turnovers. I think that's going to be the difference in this game. And I think the Browns have a chance to win by double digits. If not, I think they definitely come out away with it in the fourth quarter and pull away.
Yeah, and just a counter question to Ken. Ken, is it safe to say that the Browns have the best run game in the NFL, or at least the best running back tandem?
Let's see. It's probably pretty close. I mean, what's rare is that you don't really. I mean, what's unique is that you don't really see both of these guys having good games together. It has been one or the other, dating back towards the end of last year, and even part of last year. There were a couple of games where Chubb was coming back from an injury and Hunt took the load and was really good, and then Chubb came back towards the end of the year, took back the load. Starting this season to begin the year, Kareem Hunt had a really good week 1, not such a good week 2. So it has been a bit of a Jekyll and Hyde type of thing where one is good and the other one isn't. But that's credit to their system. Trying to think offhand if I can name a better duo tandem, and one is not coming to me. If I'm over,
the only one that I could really think of that might be close would maybe be Green Bay with Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon.
Yeah, I don't know. I think if Zeke gets his head on right, you could be looking at a really, really nice duo in Dallas because I'm a big Tony Pollard guy.
I do like Jamal Williams and DeAndre Swift in Detroit.
Yeah, I'm not a huge DeAndre Swift guy, but I do respect what Jamal Williams has been able to do. But yeah, I think you're right. I think they are the best 1-2 punch in football. Yeah, I'm having a hard time thinking of a duo that's particularly close. I don't think there is one.
And then that leads into my next question to you, Ken. Ravens at Lions.
Yeah.
We saw the Lions come out pretty strong against Green Bay, but that defense just couldn't stop Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers was throwing darts. What are you thinking here?
I think this game has elements of trappiness to it. I think it's kind of a peak moment for Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. They conquered a big demon.
Bagels wants to know if you don't like Swift because he murdered someone.
That's pretty much it. But no, it's actually I don't like Swift because I'm not a big Detroit run game guy. I don't like backs that are built like him. I don't like his style of runner. That might be harsh, but I just don't like his style of run.
They don't really last long.
No.
Darren Sproles is the only one that comes to mind that's lasted that long.
Yeah. But back to the Ravens and Lions, I do think this has elements of trappiness to it. Technically, it's a short week for both teams, I guess. Doesn't really matter. But I do think there's elements of this game that are trappy because Lamar definitely peaked against the Chiefs. He conquered his demons. He had that sort of highlight yay moment. It was almost like a Super Bowl with the way they were partying. So maybe they have a little bit of a letdown. That wouldn't surprise me. And meanwhile, the Lions, mainly Goff, have looked better than everybody expected them to. They've written them off as terrible really, really early in the season, and they looked really good week one in their comeback. The defense, though, is a problem. The defense is atrocious. It's absolutely, utterly terrible. That's going to be the biggest problem here because the Ravens are going to put up a lot of points. And frankly, I commend Goff. He's had an admirable start. I've been a big Goff hater for many, many years. And he has certainly not been the reason that this Lions team sucks. He has looked good. He made a couple of mistakes yesterday, but the game was pretty much done, and he was being asked to do too much, which is usually what happens with Lions quarterbacks because they don't get it. So Lamar's going to take care of business here, but I do think this is going to be closer than people think. The spread's approaching double digits, and I like the Lions to cover.
Fair. Andy, where are you headed on this one?
Yeah, we're just doing money line here, so I don't have a prediction for the spread, obviously, but money line, got to go with Baltimore here. I do agree that there could be some trap factor in this game because Detroit does have the ability to score and put up some points and make it a shootout. But the way that Baltimore is going to go about this game leads me to believe that really Baltimore is just going to try to take Detroit's will and just soul out of this game with their running ability and their running attack. So for me, chalk it up and give me Baltimore.
Same. I'm going to go Baltimore here. I do agree with Ken. I think Goff has come out and been way better than he should be. He's done well. I was super excited to see how well he started against the Packers. I just think with such a bad defense, it really wore on the offense, and he couldn't keep up with Green Bay and scoring points. And I think that's what's going to be the downfall for the Lions this week. They're not going to be able to keep up with the Ravens' offense. But I can agree that there is some trap to this game. Lamar, I could definitely see Lamar going in and laying an egg, and the Lions winning. It just depends, really. I will do an open forum question here to both of you. That's a really quick question. Did either of you guys watch Monday with the Mannings this week?
No.
I did see some of it, yes.
Thoughts?
It's cool, man. It's cool. I like the vibe. It's certainly better than, just watching a regular telecast. It's something different. And I think a lot of people appreciate that. And I think they appreciate not just the humor that the Mannings bring, because there are a humor element to it, but they bring a side of the game. They bring up, scenarios. And and what the commentary is on the field during some similar, some certain situations, and they bring up what they would do or what they would see in certain scenarios, whether it be a third down, fourth down and long, field goal opportunity. They just bring a lot of insight to the game, which I think is more appreciated than just listening to.
Yeah, absolutely.
And is it a separate broadcast?
It's on ESPN too. They're in a separate studio, but they're breaking down the game and talking to other football players. Brett Favre was on last night.
So, like, you would not watch the other broadcast in favor of Manning's?
Yeah, but you're still watching the game, but you're listening to the Manning.
Is it like ESPN's ability of trying to replicate Tony Romo?
I think you should watch it. It's actually really good. So the first week it had 800,000 viewers. This past week it went up to 1.9 million. So my question to you, Ken, would ESPN be silly not to just throw a bag at the Mannings and throw them in a booth?
That's what I was going to say. If they can reproduce what CBS did with Tony Romo, it makes sense, because Romo, nobody remembers how bad Romo was as a quarterback anymore because of how good he is behind the booth. And,
people are loving this. Like, it's a crazy. Yeah. You got to go on Twitter and see it. Like
people like the ex-players that are still relevant jumping into the booth. No one wants to see Booger McFarland. They'll watch Peyton Manning for sure. Like, put athletes in the booth that people care about, that have personality, and aren't kind of.
So Peyton's awesome. Like, even Eli, they're both really good at breaking the game down, and I like the aspect of them bringing in former players to just talk stories with them. And like they brought Brett Favre in, and he was talking about young Aaron stories yesterday. So I thought that was a cool element. Obviously, if they're in the booth, you can't bring in the former players like they can in a studio. But overall, I thought the broadcast is awesome. They're going to continue to do it. I definitely say give it a shot. At least watch this week's Monday night game. I think it could be pretty good with the Mannings.
So the problem with me in Monday night games, Shane, is that if the Steelers aren't playing, I don't have a lot of time to watch it, because my wife just, she puts up with, occasional football on Saturdays. I might watch some college, but then football on Sundays. So I have to give her some time, watch some shows.
Oh, no, I totally get it. That's why I don't stay up all night on. That's why I don't stay up all night on Mondays. I fall asleep in the middle of the game. And then you give me shit when I say, oh my God, the Ravens won.
I gave you a little shit. The last two primetime games.
Sunday the last two, like, Sunday you guys didn't stay up to watch.
Okay, Shane, you don't have a wife and a kid, okay? You don't have a wife and two kids, okay? You can stay up if you want to and watch the game.
Yeah, but I'm a responsible adult. I need to go to bed to get ready for work the next day.
Okay. Don't you start work at like noon?
Shut up, Andy. It doesn't matter.
Commute, right? You just get up and walk to your desk. Okay.
I thought you're
Andy, I hate you. But anyways, this is getting off the rails. Let's go to our next game. Ken, I'm going to start with you. Me and you are the resident Patriots fans. We got the Saints at the Pats. Do you think Jameis can come into Foxborough and win it? I know the New England offense has been pretty basic so far. They haven't really unleashed Mac yet. What are you thinking?
My argument, like, I don't know. I see. Here's my thing with the Saints. They aren't going to be as bad as they just were. They had 8 assistant coaches out due to COVID. They played like they had 8 assistant coaches out due to COVID. And Winston, morphed back into his old self a little bit. But what I expect here is that they'll kind of get back to their roots a little bit. That I think Peyton's going to be a little conservative, because I don't think he wants to risk destroying I don't think he wants to risk destroying Jameis Winston. I think he wants to play a controlled game. I actually think both offenses are going to play a relatively conservative game. So that might not make for what we are used to between the Pats and Saints. The Pats do have to test Mac Jones at some point. They are 32nd in red zone offense. And last I checked, there are 32 teams in the NFL. So that's bad. And they are going to have to do something. Throw it into the end zone, draw up some plays so that he can get into the end zone without exposing it to an interception. I'm not sure what the insane fear is. But they really only give it to Damian Harris and James White inside the 20s, and that's going to become a problem at some point. Can't win like that. But this could be a Bill Belichick game. And what I mean by that is he might take your one best player or your one best element and remove it completely. And that is Alvin Kamara. So if he is able to contain Alvin Kamara, that is going to mean that they're going to have to be beat by Jameis, the tight ends, Marquez Callaway, and a bunch of guys that might not beat you. So if that's happening, I'm going to take the Pats because I think that's what they're going to do. I think they're going to contain Alvin Kamara a little bit. And I think they're going to continue to play polished football, not necessarily exciting or electric football. But I do hope that we start to see some more growth from Mac instead of this kind of more of the same, dinks and dunks, short yardage between the 20s. Then when you get inside the 20, we're just going to run or kick a field goal. That is not going to get you into the playoffs. So I do think they'll take care of business here, but we got to start to see something soon.
No, I agree with you. I'm going to take the Pats as well this week. Last week, they had a trick play that they had the running back throw the ball to James White, I believe, throw the ball back to Mac, and then Mac hit Jonnu Smith across the middle. But he had actually a wide open Nelson Aguilar heading towards the end zone. So if they had unleashed that pass, it would have been a touchdown pass. So I think you need to go back to preseason Mac a little bit, where I feel like he was being unleashed a little bit. He was throwing down the field a lot more. And his deep balls are pretty. They look good down the field during the preseason. I think it's time that you unleash Mac a little bit. Show the NFL what he can do, because he does have a good arm. I'm okay with playing a little conservative, but I think they need to throw a couple deep balls in there, and that will be the key to success. But yeah, I'll go Pats here. Andy, what are you doing?
Yeah. So for me, I'm looking at this a couple different ways. I'm looking at, like Ken sort of mentioned at the beginning, Ken always goes first. I feel like I steal I feel like I piggyback everything that he says. That we saw from week 1 how great New Orleans looked, and we saw how terrible they were in week 2. There's got to be some sort of middle ground here. But at the same time, I just don't know how much I can trust Jameis Winston to go on the road, considering that Bill Belichick does what he does, taking away the team's best weapon, which by far, with no Michael Thomas in the lineup, is Alvin Kamara. So I know that from history, Bill Belichick always takes away or does a pretty good job. That's one thing he's always done well, even not so in the Brady era, even when Brady has since left. Bill Belichick always takes away the team's best weapon, and that's Alvin Kamara in this case. So Jameis is going to have to figure it out on the road, in my opinion, and that's going to be hard for me to trust. So for me, I'm going with the system here. I'm going with the home team, that they get the job done. I think Damian Harris does well on the ground, and I think the Patriots defense does enough and makes a play or two in the second half, fourth quarter, that they win a very close game against, what we have seen so far is kind of a Jekyll and Hyde New Orleans team. I think they're better than we saw, obviously, in week 2, but I think New England as a whole gets the job done in a team victory in week 3.
Yeah, absolutely. And the Saints need to do a better job of getting Marquez Callaway more involved. I feel like he's been super out of the game plan the first 2 weeks. I think he needs to get more involved. And if he's involved, I think it's a little bit different of a game. But we'll see how it goes. Like I said, I've got the Pats. Looks like it's Pats across the board. Going into our next game, which I feel like I have a feeling it'll be Cardinals across the board here. Andy, Cardinals at Jags. The Jags have looked real bad. Trevor Lawrence has looked awful. Some people have said that his start to his career is worse than Josh Rosen's. So What are you thinking?
I don't know about that. I mean, the coaching's not very good either. And in my estimation, with Trevor Lawrence being, the best prospect quarterback we've seen, come out since maybe Andrew Luck and whatnot, I think if even we have a new coach that comes in and replaces Urban Meyer next season, I don't see that they're going to replace Trevor Lawrence. So that's been, that's a key thing is that, not necessarily the new coach in Arizona believe in Josh Rosen. So they moved on and took Kyler Murray, which was a great, turned out to be a great thing that they did. But I just don't see if a new coach comes in next year, they replace Trevor Lawrence. I just don't see that. And I think Trevor does improve throughout the season. But I think he'll be throwing a lot this week. And that's just going to be the case for Jacksonville all season. They're going to be down a lot. They're going to be throwing a lot. It's not going to be the best scenario for Trevor Lawrence this year. But I see Arizona definitely winning this game.
Yeah, I'm going to go Cardinals as well. I just think Kyler Murray is just too much. That offense is good. That defense is good. I think the Jags are super overmatched here. Ken, I assume you're doing pretty much the same.
Yeah, they look pretty lost. They don't have much of a game plan. Lawrence was only looking for Marvin Jones last week, and it's pretty gross. I don't like to pick road teams in survivor pools, but I might make an exception for this one this week because the Jaguars look like they suck. So Cardinals it is.
Yeah. So that pretty much says it on that right there. Going into our next one, we've got the Washington football team at the Buffalo Bills. I think this game has all the makings for another really good defensive game. I think Josh Allen's coming out of his shell a little bit. I think we're starting to see a little bit of the older Josh Allen, hopefully last year's Josh Allen. I'm going to go the Bills here. I think Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis, Emmanuel Sanders, it's just going to be a little too much for that offense led by Heineke. Andy, what are you doing here?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Buffalo. I just think that across the board, we have great offense in the Bills against a pretty strong defense in Washington, especially their front seven. But I just think Buffalo has the better quarterback in this case. We talked about week one. Do we go with the better quarterback in Herbert or a better team defensive-wise with the Washington football team? And that ended up not working out for Washington. The better quarterback won, and I think it's going to be a similar case, especially with Buffalo being the home team. I just think they get it done. They want to put on a better showing than they did with their week one home crowd. So I see Buffalo getting the job done.
True. Ken, so this defense on paper should be one of the best defenses in the league, right? And they're just not getting the job done this year through the first 2 weeks. Do you think the Bills are able to also kind of expose this defense again for a third week?
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with Washington's defense. It doesn't look like the same unit as last year, which I think is their biggest issue because a lot of the rest is the same, even with Taylor Heineke. While the Bills have not looked that impressive, this might be a get-right week for them, and I could see that. I definitely think they're going to play better this week than they did at home against Pittsburgh. And while Josh Allen certainly has taken a step back from last year, you definitely can make the argument that they have a better situation than what's going on in Washington, missing Fitzpatrick and relying on Heineke, who hasn't looked terrible. He looks a little he looks like he could play quarterback, just not very good. He's average. He's an average kind of guy. He's just another quarterback. He's not going to set the world on fire. And he's going to have to rely on his studs like Terry McLaurin. So it's going to be tough for them. I do think the Bills have the ability to have a get right week here. That's kind of what I expect to happen. And so, yeah, I'm gonna go with the Bills. I like what I've seen with their run game so far, which is something that they've addressed.
Been good.
They've addressed that compared to last year. Moss didn't look too bad in week 2, and his first action, and Singletary has looked solid. And he's still young, so they're trending in the right direction. They still have the top end wide receiver crew. They still have a pretty decent defense, and I don't think you're going to get a Josh Allen regression to the max. I think he's already regressed about as much as he's going to, so probably only up from here. I definitely expect the Bills to take this one.
True. Like I said, I'm going to go the Bills. I just think for whatever reason, this Washington defense is just struggling this year. I don't think they'll have an answer for the Bills offense. And the Bills defense is good. It looked real good last week against the Dolphins. Greg Rousseau looks like the real deal. He had like 3 sacks last week. And AJ Espinoza killed Tua. I think he's probably put 2 out for a couple weeks. So
Tua is dead. R.I.P.
When I saw Espinoza hit him, it looked like a lion jumping an antelope. So I knew he was dead from the hit. So right when he got hit, I was like, oh, yep, Tua's dead.
Yeah, I'm worried about it too because it's his hip and he might come back. He might be gingerly or nervous. I don't know. I'm a little worried about the headspace of Tua now.
Yeah. Well, that was a nasty hit. But moving into our next one, you and I were talking about this pre-show. We got the Jets at the Broncos. Jets looked awful last week against the Pats defense. Now they're going into Denver, which this defense isn't any easier with Von Miller, Bradley Chubb. Teddy Bridgewater's looked good. Cortland Sutton, Tim Patrick, they've all played really well. Ken, who do you got here? Are you taking the Broncos over the Jets?
Yeah, Zach Wilson's looked kind of like a mess, especially during the Pats. He made some really bad throws, really stupid decisions, and the Broncos defense is probably more supreme than the Patriots. So when you're going over to Denver, that's a tough place to play, especially for a rookie quarterback on the road, his 3rd start. It's going to be a rough one. It's going to definitely be a rough season for him. They have unaddressable holes in their defensive unit, in my opinion. They lack a foundation for their run game. Until they really hand the reins over to Michael Carter and he shows what he can do. They don't have a solid run game. And I think their receivers are kind of scatterbrained. They have a mix of guys that are young and vets, and they're not developing the rookies the right way because Elijah Moore is not seeing the field because you have to keep Corey Davis healthy, and it's just a weird situation to be in. I thought they'd be a little better coached than this. So it just hasn't looked like much of an improvement has happened for the New York Jets from year over year and changing coaching systems. And Broncos, I think they're going to coast here. They've been playing some pretty solid football. They played their starters in the preseason, so most of their players have been ready to go. Teddy Bridgewater is proving his worth. Got him for a 6th-round pick. What an absolute steal that was. I bet there's a lot of teams that would kill to have Teddy Bridgewater. Maybe not as a starter, but as their backup quarterback for a 6th-round pick. That's a steal. So
yeah, but the Redskins are picking themselves.
Yeah, so he's been really good. He's helping develop these young guys. I like what I've seen with Javonte Williams. I like what I've seen with these receivers, and I like what I've seen with this young defensive core. So really, things are looking up for Denver. Honestly, they don't have their long-term answer or quarterback, but they're kind of developing everything else around it in such a way that once they do find that piece, this could be a pretty good team. So they're not going to have any problems here with the Jets.
Absolutely. Andy, Broncos, do you think their defense just killed Zach Wilson this week?
Yeah, I was encouraged from what I saw after week 1 with Zach Wilson, but then just demoralized after last week. And
Judon was having him see ghosts last week.
A lot of that has to do with the Patriots, against rookie quarterbacks. They just have always dominated. But this will be the 2nd straight week that the Broncos are facing a rookie quarterback. And I think we'll see similar results. I think Broncos get it done. Their defense just too much for the Jets offense.
Yeah, I'm also going Broncos here. I just think that defense is so good. Patrick Surtain has looked just as good as advertised coming out of Alabama. He had a pick in week 2. He shut down his side of the field. Kyle Fuller's looked like a great ad. Apparently, they had multiple teams, including the Saints, offering them upwards of a 2nd-round pick for Kyle Fuller, and they decided not to do it at all in the preseason. So I think the Broncos roll here. And I think the Broncos are one of those underrated teams that we could be talking about potentially in the playoffs come later this season, as long as things continue to go the way they are, especially when Judy comes back. But moving on, as Ken and I were just talking about, the Dolphins.
Did
go ahead.
Viggy pick Washington or Buffalo? I didn't jot it.
He took the Bills.
Oh, okay, my bad.
Moving on, we've got what Ken and I were alluding to. We've got the Dolphins at the Raiders. Tua got killed by AJ Espinoza. He may have cartilage damage in his ribs. We don't know yet. So he may be out for this game, and it could be Jacoby Brissett starting. That's up in the air currently. I think we'll find out probably either tomorrow or Thursday whether Tua's starting. Ken alluded to maybe Tua being a little jittery. They're coming back facing a very solid Raiders defense. Andy, are you taking the Raiders or the Dolphins here? I'm assuming you're leaning one way, which is the Raiders.
Wow, I almost fell asleep because I just figured Ken would be going first here. No, I'm going with the Vegas Raiders in this one. The thing that I was concerned about with the Raiders coming into the season was their defense, and to their credit, they've done fairly well. They held up against the Ravens on Monday Night Football in Week 1. That's a juggernaut rushing attack. So the fact that they were even able to get into the fourth quarter, keep their defense intact, go into overtime, and it was a crazy overtime at that, to win the game. They won the game, then lost the game, then won the game again. It was crazy, but they ended up winning, to their credit. And to their credit as well, going in and facing my Steelers and getting the job done in Pittsburgh is never an easy task, and their defense held the Steelers down, I believe, to just one touchdown. So if their Raiders defense is going to continue playing like that, I've got to give them credit. I've got to give them credit for it, and I'm going to say that they get the job done against whether it's Tua or Brissett. I think they get the job done this weekend.
Absolutely. Ken, you had said you think the Raiders defense is a little underrated. Do you think they just go out there and destroy whether it's Tua or Brissett?
Yeah, I mean, Jacoby Brissett doesn't inspire much confidence. Take that from a Pats fan. So he's I don't think it's going to really matter which one's at quarterback. I actually think you probably should just give Tua some rest. I really can't believe the Raiders are about to be 3-0, but I do think that's where we're heading. I am going to go with the Raiders. Derek Carr has looked very, very much improved. I know he's banged up a little bit, but he has looked vastly improved. He's getting his receivers involved. Ruggs looked much better this week. Edwards has looked good. Actually, Hunter Renfrow has looked quietly like a little Wes Welker, Julian Edelman type of guy for Carr, which I think goes undersold in this offense. I kind of like him quite a bit, Hunter Renfrow, that is. And, of course, you have Darren Waller. He's the stud. He's the playmaker. He's the top target. So this offense looks good. Kenyon Drake has been catching the ball quite well, actually.
Revenge game for Kenyon Drake.
Yeah. Not running the ball that well, but has been doing a good job out of the backfield. So if Josh Jacobs can stay healthy, I think you have a really nice offense here. The offensive line, I believe, is pretty good, last I checked. And the defense, which was supposed to be the weak spot, just killed Roethlisberger and kind of made Lamar Jackson look a little foolish. So they look pretty improved. Maybe this is Gruden finally putting it all together. Maybe this is Carr finally putting it all together. I certainly like them to take care of business here against a team that's going to be without their quarterback probably. And, frankly, didn't look very good at all against Buffalo. So, give me the Raiders. I'm starting to believe a little bit.
I would like Brissett back in Indy right now, is what Ryan Crawford said.
That's brutal.
But no, I'm going to go the Raiders here too. I love Gruden coming out and saying this is what Carr's been the whole time. He's finally putting it together. I love the confidence in Carr. Seeing Carr come out and throw that deep ball to Henry Ruggs on 3rd and 10 against the Steelers was insane. I don't think I've ever seen Carr just uncork it like that before. It's a different side of Carr we haven't seen. Excuse me. But I just think the Raiders are a different team. There's something weird in the air with them. Maybe it's just an early season thing, but I really like the Raiders so far. I think their defense is solid. I think we see the Raiders win here by at least 2 touchdowns. Moving on to what some people have said is game of the week, including Ken. Um, I'll start this one, I guess. Yeah. I skipped the Seahawks and the Vikings. Whoops.
Yeah,
It could be the game of the week. You never know.
could be a fun
But
one.
we got the Seahawks going into Minnesota. Some people say that Kirk Cousins was a reverse Tom Brady last week. He led the team down for the game-winning field goal, and then the kicker blew the game. So, but Kirk actually looked pretty good last week. He did his thing. Had over 200 yards passing, a couple touchdowns. Looked strong. Had a good completion percentage. But the Seahawks are just too much. Russell Wilson with this new offense is great. So I'm gonna go Seahawks.
Reverse Tom Brady. Yeah, he's a reverse Tom Brady. All right, he'll never sniff a Super Bowl. I'm sorry, I was just laughing over here. Yeah, I'm going Seahawks too. I think that Minnesota could definitely keep it competitive, and Kirk Cousins had a great game on Sunday, which, when you have these type of performances, it just lifts your expectations, and then typical Kirk Cousins brings it right back down to earth, and hopefully we'll see that come Sunday in Seattle. They're pissed off, I think, like Shane said earlier in the show when we talked about the Tennessee game. They're out for blood. They'll be motivated. I can't see them starting 1-2, and they're in the best division in football, and they can't afford to start 1-2. With
we got to keep
in division, they have to get the job done. I think the connection between Russell Wilson and Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf is lethal, and we'll see potentially a shootout. But at the same time, I think Seattle gets the job done. They don't let a lead slip away this week against Minnesota.
Ken, what are you thinking here?
I definitely think it's going to be a shootout. I think Dalvin Cook's licking his chops, seeing what Derrick Henry just did. So, yeah, I definitely see this one being a bit of a shootout. The Vikings were just Kylered to death, but it was a very sloppy game. And it reminded me of the Vikings kind of doing like Charger-esque things, really wanted to lose the game, and I think they did. They got what they wanted. So I kind of get that vibe from the Vikings this year. It's not a good one. And I do have a very talented offense. I don't like their defense. And yeah, like you said, Seattle showed that they can travel and play on the road. They took care of business week 1 against the Colts. Tough place to play. They want to travel. They're going to play again in Minnesota. It's another indoor game. So I think they're going to be just fine here. I do like the Seahawks to take this one, but Mike Zimmer does have an avenue to win this one here if he hammers Dalvin Cook the same way, and the Seahawks don't make the adjustments like they couldn't do against Henry. So there is an avenue here. I wouldn't be surprised if the Vikings win, but I am going to go with the Seahawks.
Fair enough. Yeah, I think Seattle gets it done. Like I said, I really like that offense under their new offensive coordinator, handpicked by Russell Wilson. They really opened up that offense. I think you said the Vikings got Kyler to death. I think you're going to see much of the same with Russell Wilson, who's a very similar kind of quarterback. I think the Seahawks win this one pretty handedly. But going into what Ken said,
yes,
was potentially the game of the week. Bucks at Rams. Ken kind of alluded to his pick at the beginning of the episode. Ken,
yeah,
I'm going to start with you here. Who you got?
So Battle of the Unbeatens, which is interesting. Even though they're only 2-0, it is the only unbeaten matchup this week, and it's also Tom Brady's first career game in Los Angeles, I believe. So it's a couple of cool little things there. But like I said earlier in the show, I think the winner of this game should be emerged as the front runner in the NFC and maybe the front runner of the Super Bowl. You still have the Chiefs, but they just lost. So I'm going to say that the winner of this game should be the NFC and Super Bowl front runner. And interestingly enough, Tom Brady last year, the only time he lost going out west was when he was playing these very same Rams. Threw 2 interceptions, and they looked like they had an answer for him back last season. So there is an answer for them. They do have a script to stop Tom Brady. The Bucs defense has been giving up points in bunches. They did let Atlanta get back into that game, and they did let Dak kind of have his way with them a little bit too in week 1. So, 25 points coming from Atlanta is not really something that inspires a ton of confidence in the secondary, though the front 7 is still elite. And Stafford looked elite, man. The Stafford MVP talks might start soon if he keeps this up, unless he gets upstaged by Cooper Kupp, who I think really is that good. But I do think that they have an answer here to beat Tom Brady and the Buccaneers. And the game is in Los Angeles. I think it's going to be the game of the week. It's going to be extremely close. I do think it's going to come down to the wire, which is usually something that benefits Tom Brady. But I kind of am buying into this Rams hype. I like what I'm seeing, and I am going to go with the Rams here in a true toss-up.
Awesome. Andy, Rams and Bucks. What are you thinking?
So this one I've gone back and forth with as well. I can see why everybody wants to pick Los Angeles. The game's in LA. It's Tom Brady's first ever trip to Los Angeles. Like, that makes a difference. He's from California, so I'm sure he's been to LA plenty of times. I know, obviously,
There's a house in LA.
On the NFL level, I'm sure, he hasn't played a game in LA in the NFL is concerned, but that's not going to faze him. For me, every time I've bet or picked against Brady, I tend to lose. And I'm not saying that the Bucs are going 16-0, because they're not. And if LA were to get a win, this might just be based on home field advantage, and LA gets the job done late. And their defense has shown to be a bit better to start the season. But I am just not going against Brady here. I think they get the job done. They have so many weapons on the offensive side of the football. Leonard Fournette has started with a bang this year. That I think that's a huge game plan element for this week. Not forcing Brady to do too much, not getting that pass rush of LA's, keeping them honest on the front 7 is huge. And the way that Tampa can do that is utilizing Leonard Fournette in the ground game. And then they have Gio Bernard, who they've utilized kind of as the James White for Tom Brady. So they are really comfortable with their running backs. Gronk is Gronk again. He's back, and he's better than ever. And that'll be huge for Tampa Bay. And obviously Brady trusts him over O.J. Howard or anybody else at tight end. So it's Gronk there, and they have the weapons on the outside with Mikey Evans and Antonio Brown and Chris Godwin. So for me, this is going to be a shootout. I would take the over up to 75 in this one. I think this has the ability to be that kind of game. And if it is that kind of game, count me in. I'm taking Tampa Bay.
I like it. I've been going back and forth on this one pretty much all day. But I'm going to lean with LA. I just like what Stafford's doing. And I think the real X factor of this game is actually Jalen Ramsey. I think Ramsey is just a playmaker, once in a generation type cornerback. He really is just very physical. He's almost like a safety playing corner. I think he's going to eliminate one side of the field, whether that's Mike Evans or Godwin's side. It's to be determined.
I know you're playing it's out inside.
I mean, that would be nice, yeah. But I just really like Jalen Ramsey. I think this defense in general is great. Aaron Donald is hard to stop. I think he's going to be a menace getting after Brady. And historically, we see Brady struggle when the pass rush is very good. And Donald is that kind of pass rusher. He's going to get after Brady. Jalen Ramsey's not going to allow much on his side of the field. So it really limits Brady. To your credit, though, Gronk is back, and Gronk looks great. It took him a year to get back into real good shape, but I think Gronk is back to being that, that X factor in the tight end position. but I just think the Rams have a little too much. I think, like Ken said, Stafford is playing at an MVP type level. That offense is very good, and the defense is just as good, I think. So I'm going to go Rams.
Now, let me
Go
say
ahead.
this, though. I will say if the Rams don't win this game and the Bucks win this game, the Bucks are going undefeated. I'm going to say it right now. I know Vig just said that they're not going to go undefeated. If they win this game, they're going to go undefeated, and I challenge you to go look at the schedule and tell me who they're going to lose to.
I mean, 17-0. I mean, this is the longest.
They're not going to.
Is this the only NFC West team the Bucks play this year?
Let me check, but I believe so. The only game that I was like, they play at Indy. So let's see. After the Rams, we are at New England, home against Miami, at Philly, home against Chicago, at New Orleans, at Washington, home against the Giants, at Indy, at Atlanta, home against Buffalo, home against New Orleans, at Carolina, at the Jets, home against Carolina.
They could lose at Carolina depending on where things stand with Carolina.
Not going to happen.
I think I crazy enough. I mean, I might agree with you here. The only game that I can see being an issue is Carolina.
I'm possibly with you. I mean, that game October 31st, Bucks at Saints could be interesting. If the Saints are back home, even though they had a fire on the roof of Caesars Dome today, that was interesting.
I agree though. If they're not, that's the key though to me is they're not playing another NFC West team, which is I think the teams that pose.
That's why I asked. I was like, maybe the Cardinals.
That's why I like
December 12th.
This might be that one game.
I don't think they're going to lose December 12th.
What's that one?
Bills at Bucks December 12th. That could be interesting.
No, I think in Buffalo, maybe it's different, but in Tampa, I think Tampa's.
I think Tom takes care of that.
If Tampa Bay wins this weekend, I'm going to try to see if I can find an undefeated Bucks bet.
I wouldn't be that shocked. I mean, at Carolina, at Indy, and at New Orleans are probably the toughest ones at that point. Maybe at Philly. I don't know. I'm not
said it blindly without looking at the schedule because we're in the longest NFL season ever, 17 games.
Right. True.
It's that hard. It's that much harder to go undefeated. So that's what I was saying. But no, I mean, looking at the schedule. I mean, you never know what can happen through.
I do. Yeah. I think it's fair to say that this is by far.
Oh no! This is
the biggest test.
This is the toughest game, and if they beat this Rams team, I think you do have a fair point, and maybe you might want to get with Viggy and try and make some kind of future on that.
That could be something.
If you can do kind of in season future bets, then I mean if they do win this weekend, not only will it help you.
I like what Keaton said.
Oh man, could you imagine? Can you imagine we place that bet and then they lose the next week to Mac Jones? that would be the ultimate irony.
But moving on, we just have a couple more and then we'll wrap it up. We got the Packers at the 49ers. This is actually a very interesting game to me. I'll start this one off. I really like what the Niners have done so far. Their run game though is looking about as good as the running back situation is looking about as good as the Ravens currently. Trey Sermon had one carry last week and died.
He fell on his head and just laid there.
Yeah. And Aaron Rodgers actually looked fantastic last night. So, I mean, this is 49ers obviously have a much better defense, right? But I think I'm going to go the Packers here. I know they're going to San Francisco. But I thought Aaron Jones was electric last night. I think he's really going to be a key to that Packers offense going. I thought the Packers pass rush looked a lot better in week 2. I think they're starting to turn things around in Green Bay. So I'm going to go Packers. Andy, who are you going here?
I know the last time that Green Bay went to San Francisco, Green Bay doubled them up and won 34-17. I'm just a little, for me, I go back to the NFC Championship game back in January of 2019, and that's kind of what I see happening in this game. We saw how badly Green Bay looked on the road in week 1 and how great they looked at home in week 2. If we're going to see similarities to this all season, I'm just going to pick Green Bay every time they're at home as opposed to when they're on the road. And San Francisco is a very much quality team. And we saw them go in and beat Philadelphia on the road last weekend, which I picked Philly to win that game, so unfortunately that didn't work out. But I am going with San Francisco. I think they have the better defense. I think that they'll get to Aaron Rodgers and they'll frustrate him. And it doesn't take much to frustrate Aaron Rodgers, to be honest with you. And once he is frustrated, that can lead to bad things for the Packers, especially with his with his ability to really not want to be in Green Bay anyway. So I'm going with San Francisco.
True. Ken, are you going to do much of the same?
Yeah, I was thinking about this and thinking about the running backs and the injuries and whatever, and I actually think it's pretty commendable that it doesn't matter to San Francisco. I don't think it matters. We've seen this happen time and time again. Every running back they have gets hurt. They bring in somebody else. That guy comes in. He does okay. He gets hurt. Then there's the next guy. And then, one of these guys comes back. Someone else is hurt. It's just a constant carousel.
It's really a testament to Shanahan's offense, right?
Exactly. I think Hasty was going to be that guy. He got hurt. Mitchell is day-to-day, so I expect he could come back and be pretty serviceable. If it's not, it's going to be interesting because it might be Kerryon Johnson, it might be Trenton Cannon, it might be Duke Johnson, it might be Lamar Miller. Who the fuck knows? But to be honest with you, I don't think it really matters all that much because they have that system, and that system allows for a lot of guys to be better than what they really are. We haven't even seen Brandon Ayuk, so I mean they have this mentality where the talent isn't necessarily as important as the system. And I think that's really what it is. And that's why I like the 49ers. That's why I think they're pretty good. And why I do think they're going to edge this one out. I agree with a lot of the points Vig said. I know I'm the biggest Rodgers hater of a lot of people here, but I don't like them traveling out west at all. They just played Monday Night Football. Now they're going to travel out west and play San Francisco, and I know they doubled them up last time due to a lot of the injuries the 49ers had, but I think these injuries the 49ers have are a little more manageable because it's the running back position as opposed to guys like Garoppolo getting hurt and having to play, frankly, a much less talented people. I don't even remember. Was it Nick Mullins? Who knows?
Right, because wasn't that the COVID game that Green Bay doubled?
Yeah, it was. I believe it was the
COVID was
game.
just riddled with COVID problems, and they played the game, and that wasn't necessarily a true synopsis of San Francisco, whereas we're getting a similar dose of the 49ers to what we saw in the championship game in February of last year. So
and I think
point. I forgot about that. So.
And I think you're going to see the backs, take a next man up mentality. I don't think they're going to miss them that much, to be honest with you. And yeah, Green Bay looked great. They had a get right game against a really putrid defense Monday night at home under the lights in Lambeau. I mean, it was what everybody expected to happen. I wish I picked them for my survivor pool so that I got them out of the way because of how much of a turd Rodgers is. But yeah, give me the Niners. I think they're the better team. I think they're the more complete team. And they're a team that I think is going to make some noise if they can get healthy.
Maybe the Niners will call Reuben Drones.
Yeah.
Great Denver Broncos running back.
They should go get Matt Breida back.
Yeah, that would be smart to bring him back in. But moving into our last game of the night, we've got the Eagles at the Cowboys, and we're going to have our Cowboys truther start us off, and that is Mr. Kembo J. Slice.
I am turning into that a little bit, a bit of a Cowboys truther. I'm going to keep that tune going today. They're going to take care of the Eagles at home on Monday Night Football. They're going to win the NFC East this year. I actually am pretty confident in saying that. I really like Dak. I think he's a lock for comeback player of the year based off of that gruesome injury he had. And he has the experience that Hurts doesn't. So I don't want to pick on the Eagles. They have an extremely bright offensive future. I love what I see from Jalen Hurts and Devontae Smith and Jalen Reagor. And these guys all look really good. But what's funny to me is I feel like they're like a couple of years behind Dallas's trajectory from an offensive standpoint. What I see from Dak and Cooper and CeeDee and Pollard and Zeke is what I expect to see from Hurts and Smith and Reagor and Goddard and Gainwell in a couple of years.
And Watkins.
And Watkins, thank you. Yeah, I expect the Eagles are going to have a really good offense in a couple of years. I just don't think that they're totally up to par with what Dallas offers from an offensive standpoint and being a complete team. And I know everybody likes to pick on Dallas, but I think they're better than what everybody says. We saw what happens when Tony Pollard gets involved. That is a difference maker. That kid is a difference maker. He's not the name that Zeke Elliott that everybody knows and loves and says is this great all-time runner. Zeke needs to be spelled. And we've seen now, if you use both of those backs, they can both, be successful. And Pollard can help fill in that gap that Zeke leaves behind. So I think the Eagles have a bright offensive future. I think both of their defenses have holes. So I don't necessarily, think one has the edge over the other. But the Cowboys did just make Herbert look fairly ordinary overall. So I like Dallas quite a bit here. I think it'll be another high-scoring game. I think the NFL's got a nice-looking slate this weekend of really good, fun football games. This is going to be a great NFC East matchup, Hurts versus Dak. Like I said, nothing against the Eagles' offense. It's going to be amazing in the future. I just think right now it's Dallas's time, and I think this is their division this year.
Yeah, I'm going to go Cowboys here too. I love Rager, Devontae Smith, Kenneth Gainwell, Miles Sanders, Quez Watkins, Jalen Hurts. But I just think Dak and company is just too much. I think we're going to see Zeke have a big game this week. I think Zeke's going to come out and rush for 100 yards and 2 touchdowns against the Eagles. And you'll still see Tony Pollard be effective as well. But I think the Cowboys win this one by 2 touchdowns. Andy, what do you got here?
I'm going with Philly. I am going with Philly. I see from what I've seen so far the first 2 weeks, the Cowboys defense has not been very good. They're 28th in opponent's yards per play. And also, I really like the Eagles' defense. They've allowed the 4th fewest passing yards this season. So I think we're going to see those come into play on Sunday. And we've seen Philly go into Dallas before and get a victory. And, not the greatest offensive performance last weekend from Philly. They had some missed opportunities that I think they'll get back this weekend in a big divisional game. I'm going with Philadelphia to get the big win in Dallas.
Awesome. And that's pretty much our show, guys. We've had a really good night tonight. Andy, tell everyone where we can find you, brother.
Appreciate it, Shane. At Viggy Bets on Twitter. We have one more NRFI starting up in the next couple minutes, but you can follow me. I've had about 100 followers in the last 24 hours and almost 200 in the last 48. So everybody's following, everybody's loving the tailing of the bets. So let's keep it going.
Hell yeah. Ken, where can we find you, brother?
You see me right down there at Kenbo J Slice. That's the personal account. At ECBC, that is the ECBC card breaking account. You'll find me on both of them. I'm very frequently active on both. Reach out to me anytime. We'd love to chat. Of course, I'm always got an open DM.
Absolutely. And you can find me at Ask Us Sports or at S_Miller_27. That's my personal account. Hit Ken and I up. We love talking cards, sports, comics, all of that stuff. Video games. Ken loves video games. Yeah, hit us up, guys. We had fun. We'll see you again next Tuesday. Hopefully my record will be above 500. Hopefully I'll catch up to Ken a little bit. And, have a great night, everyone. Girl, but I can make it fly because I walk around with pockets that are bigger than my butt. Wow. Rain, go away. That's what on my head is say. My pockets stuck on overload. My rain never evaporate. No need to elaborate. Those are these ducks that said they do. But I'ma get money, nigga, every day. Some nigga ducks might get a chance after me. Yeah, bitch, I'm balling like I'm coming up on free throws.